Well, alright, it's time to tackle this fuel pressure regulator. Now they've gone ahead and they put it just in an absolutely horrible spot. You can see it there. I've taken the vacuum line off of it. But not only is it in a very hard to reach spot, they've also screwed it in from the bottom with, I believe, Allen head screws. So I think I'm going to try to remove all this crap so I can get my hand in there, hopefully, and undo the screws. But if I take all this out of the way, all the wires and hoses and stuff, and I still can't get to it, I may have to take the intake off. So I'm going to go ahead and probably put some penetrating oil in these screws, make sure that cover comes off, and let them soak while I'm unplugging everything here. So let's get all that crap out of the way and see if I can pull that thing off. Alright, I've taken off a bunch of stuff, and I've got a nice little path to the regulator here. And I'm pretty sure I can reach these two screws fairly easily. But there's another screw. This thing's kind of a triangle down here, and there's another screw way in the back that I'm not 100% convinced I can take out yet. But I'm going to go ahead and find an Allen wrench and give it a try, because if I can get that rear bolt out, the other two shouldn't be too much of a problem. And if I can avoid taking that entire intake off to get to it, that would be best. So I'm going to grab an Allen wrench and find the right Allen wrench and see if I can pull her off of there. Well, we have made progress. I've got the front two bolts out of the fuel pressure regulator. I had to remove kind of a bunch of stuff here. I had to remove the two hoses here that go to the intake. I had to remove the throttle cable bracket and the throttle cable and transmission linkage here. And I had to remove the salt and pepper shakers, these little plugs. I call them the salt and pepper shakers because one's black and the other one's white, and they kind of got a round top. But they're out of the way, and there was a bracket that held them on. That's out of the way. And I was able to get in there and remove those two bolts. The tool I used for that was this fancy little thing. I have no idea where I got it. But you can put a screwdriver bit in that little hole, and it ratchets. And it's nice and slim, easy to get in there. So that worked for those two. I have a 5/32 bit I was using to remove them, and you just slide that in there, and it fits in there, works great. I have no idea where to get that, but if you can find one, it'll help. You can use an Allen wrench, but I wouldn't recommend it, because taking it out and putting it back in and turning it to 1/8 of a turn and then taking it out, that's just a pain. So to get that rear bolt out, I think I'm going to have to do some modifications, because I can't get in there with the short bit and this little ratchet, and I have a longer bit, but that's just too long. So what I think I'm going to do is cut this off just a little bit, make my own little tool, so it's a little bit shorter, and I should be able to get in there and take that bolt out. Now, I could take the intake off. It would take a little bit longer, but it would make the job a lot easier. But I think I'm just going to modify that and see if I can make it work, because if I can avoid taking the intake off, why not? So let's hack up some tools and see if we can get her out of there. Well, my little homemade tool worked. I got the fuel pressure regulator off. And there's the new one I'm going to put on. And here is what I dumped out of the fuel pressure regulator, the gas that came out of it. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but there's some chunks of rust in there. That's not good. But I'm thinking that the fuel pressure regulator was hopefully my problem. And just to show you where I put the little ratchet tool I have, I slid it in through this hole and came up and got to that far bolt in the back. It's not the easiest thing to do, but you know, if I can avoid taking off the manifold, why not? If you're doing this at home, you're probably better off taking off the manifold, because you can get to that rear bolt a lot easier if the upper intake is out of the way. But I was able to do it this way, so I did, and it's probably a little bit faster. just because you don't have to mess with that. So I'm going to go ahead and put my new fuel pressure regulator on, and hopefully it'll go on easier, and put it all back together and see if it works. Alright, the fuel pressure regulator is back on, and once again that rear bolt is really a pain. Most people take the upper intake off to make it easier to get that bolt, and that's what I would recommend doing. But I suppose this way, if you have the right tools, now that you've made them and you've done it a few times, it'll probably go pretty quick this way. But it's on. I'm going to hook it up, and I got to fix a few other things, and then throw a battery in it and see if that takes care of my problem. Alright, everything should be fixed and ready to go. Let's see what it does. Sweet. Looks like it worked. I like it.